That's Keir Starmer. I'm pleased to say we can speak to Emily Thornberry now, who's a senior member of the UK Parliament for the governing Labour Party. Also chairs the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Select Committee, which recently published a report on the conflict. Joins us now from London. Emily Thornberry, welcome to Al Jazeera. Thanks for joining us. So we have this announcement, which I'm sure you support, given your push for it to happen. But why this qualification from the British Prime Minister, this unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the war? I mean, does the UK want recognition or not?
The UK wants a two-state solution. And so it's a question of how do we get there? And I think that today is a really historic moment. I think it's fantastic. I think in reality, although the conditions that the Prime Minister has put forward are completely reasonable, I don't think this far-right Israeli government is ever going to agree to it. That the truth is that they don't have an alternative solution to peace in the Middle East. The only one that the international community has ever really agreed on is a two-state solution. But this far-right government in Israel seems intent on wrecking it, partitioning the West Bank, partitioning parts of Gaza. It is desperate. I mean, it's desperate. Obviously, your viewers will just have seen what's desperate in terms of the lives that are being lost and the children that are being starved. But the only way to get a long-term peace is to have a peace solution, and the only peace solution that anyone has ever come up with that works is a two-state solution. And the Israelis are about, if they annex the West Bank, if they annex parts of Gaza, to finish off the possibility of a two-state solution. So
you call it a historic moment, but with that qualification, doesn't it just make it a bit flimsy? It's a position that the Prime Minister could just reverse, couldn't he, if Israel, adheres to the terms that he's laid out?
Well, I think it stopped the killing in Gaza, stop the annexation in the West Bank, allow aid in and begin the process towards a two-state solution. I mean, listen, I wish that I could be confident that Netanyahu would agree to that. I think that it's a way of speaking over the head of Netanyahu to the Israeli people, 82% of whom want peace, and to say that Israel is becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of the world because of the stance that it is taking. And Britain, that has been a long-standing friend of Israel, is saying enough. You have to work towards a two-state solution, and you are doing exactly the opposite. We will be recognizing Palestine whilst there is still a Palestine left to recognize. And probably more important than anything else, it will kickstart our initiative, which is to try to add to the work that the Arab states have already been putting into what a peace solution will look like. And we will be working with them. And we will also be calling on Donald Trump to use his considerable power to put pressure on the Israelis to agree to it, because there's no other way forward.
But the thing is, Donald Trump has already said that
by itself he's not going to put any.
Sure, Donald Trump has spoken about Keir Starmer's position on this, and he's dismissed it out of hand. And even if the UK do back statehood, what difference ultimately, and France, of course, and possibly others, what difference will it make ultimately if the US isn't behind it?
I think that it's right that we do need to get the US behind it. And I think what we need to be able to do is to go to Donald Trump and say, this is the solution that we've come up with. Not just Britain and not just France, but the Gulf states and the Arab states, all of whom have played such a really important part in the work that has been done. And we put together a solution and we say to Donald Trump, here it is. This is the only thing that is going to work. We now need you. You have the power of 12 presidents who show that you do. Put pressure on the Israelis, explain to them, make it clear to them, make it clear there is no alternative to this and that they must agree to it. And we must get a peace in the Middle East. And we cannot go on like this. We cannot go on like this. It is completely inhumane. It is unforgivable. We have to stop it. You have to stop, and we have to find a peace. And this is the peace. And if, Donald Trump, you are able to lean on the Israelis and get them to agree to this, there is no doubt that you will get a peace prize and you will get the gratitude of all of us.
Do you think Keir Starmer's announcement today goes far enough? Should there also be sanctions on Israel, stopping the arms supply and even possibly trade goods as well?
I'm only interested in what works. I think that we have an urgent situation on our hands. I think that given the amount of arms that Israel actually gets from Britain is minimal. So I think that's more of a kind of striking a pose than anything else. And I think we've already suspended our trade talks with the Israelis. We have made it perfectly clear that we disagree with what this far right government is doing, and what we need to do is make sure that we work internationally with our friends and our allies in the region, and we put together an alternative peace plan, and we get the Americans to agree to it. That is the only way, in my view, that we have any sort of decent future for the children of Palestine and for the children of Israel.
How much weight of responsibility?
You cannot carry on like this.
Right. How much weight of responsibility does the UK have, do you think, given its historical involvement in shaping the Middle East?
I mean, I think that the significance of France and Britain at the same time in September recognizing Palestine, the two states that signed the Sykes-Picot agreement that carved up the Middle East in the first place, is a historic moment in itself. Obviously, the Balfour Declaration, the British mandate in Palestine, all of that has shaped the area. Our fingerprints are all over it. We have a responsibility to proactively try to find a solution to this, and we must do it. And it weighs very heavily on us, and I think that we shouldn't just look away, even though it's really hard, even though it's really difficult, and even though it's heartbreaking. We have to look it straight in the eye and say, this is a failure of politics. We as politicians have a duty to find a way through. People used to say that it was impossible to find a solution to Northern Ireland, but we did. And the situation in Palestine is impossible to solve until it isn't. But we have to work on it, and we have to be brave and be prepared to fail. But we're never going to succeed unless we try. It might not work, but we have to try. We have to.
So your committee has just produced this report acknowledging that UK action in this conflict and in the past has been too little, too late. Given how long this particular conflict has been going on and what we're seeing today, the terrible scenes of despair and destruction across Gaza, isn't this just another case of that? Too little, too late.
If this is the beginning of a peace process that works, then that is what is important. Now, obviously, I have been campaigning for this for a considerable amount of time. And actually, the election of Donald Trump in many ways might even be helpful. It might work, it might not. But, if we get his attention, if you say to him, we have done the heavy lifting here, but you will be an integral part in this peace process if you can exert the influence that only you can. Only Donald Trump stopped the Israelis from another bombing attempt in Iran, because he simply said, don't do it, stop it, turn the planes round, and they did. And they don't always listen. Netanyahu doesn't always listen to the American president, but he does listen sometimes. And in the end, of course, it's the Americans that have the ultimate influence over Israel, and we need Israel to change its point of view and its processes. And it may be that we need a different government in Israel, but we have to. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you don't try. And I'm really pleased that today is a signal from Britain that we want to be part of that effort, that we want to be a force for good, we want to help, we want to find the right solution. We cannot go on as we are. And my report was saying that the British government really should recognise Palestine, that we should make sure that aid gets in by getting the Americans to put pressure on the Israelis immediately to make sure that aid gets into Gaza. Obviously, more work needs to be done on that, but at least it's beginning, although it's taking too long. And finally, that we have to work together to build the two states and to build peace in the region. And we have experience of doing that. And that's our expertise, and that's what we bring to the table.
Emily Thornberry, good to have your perspective. Appreciate your company. Thanks very much.
It's great news.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.